Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crew 616. Today, we're going to do one of our less than famous little shows. We're going to be talking about films, and today's topic is the Marvel Comics Universe Phase 1. Those 6 movies that started just an avalanche of entertainment. And with me
That's
today,
putting it mildly.
yeah, I couldn't think of what else to say. With me today are, of course, Bill
Hey, how's it going?
and Ryan, RJ Epic.
Hey, I didn't know we were using the MCU's full legal name today, so.
Well, yeah. You
I
know,
mean,
how
we
I've
used
gotten,
it incorrectly, but I wasn't going to say anything.
I've gotten my friggin' wrist slapped by so many fanboys who are, do the whole, well, the Spider-Man movies aren't part of the MCU. And it's
Well,
like,
the current ones are.
move out of your fucking mama's basement, Jesus. Yeah, but anyway, and we're going to start, I think, really with the obvious place to start, and that is the Incredible Hulk.
Wrong 2008 movie, buddy.
That was good.
Oh well.
I like
Oh
that.
well. What? Oh well. Follow my logic, okay? The Hulk, whether you like the character or not, was much better known than Iron Man.
True. And it was a soft sequel to an existing film.
Also true. And they do very much want it to be part of the MCU canon. So, I mean, unless you guys want to start with Iron Man.
I mean, Hulk is very topical, too, right now. Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't really matter. We're covering all 6 of the movies. By the way, if you somehow don't know, it's Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and then Avengers.
Yeah. So, okay, fine. We will start with Iron Man since he was the baby that they gave birth to first.
He technically comes first to start this whole shebang. He's the person to blame.
And so Hulk is kind of the afterbirth.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I got you. We're good. So let's start with Tony Stark. Tony Stank.
I was going to make the Tony Stank joke.
Me
if you
too.
did.
If I didn't,
too.
yeah, I kind of figured somebody was going to throw it in there. Let's start with the Iron Man film, and I guess just your first impressions of it. Ryan, go first. Like, what was your first real impression of the movie?
I'd probably sum it up in about it was fine.
Wow, man of many words. Not the best color man in the business for nothing. I guess we'll move rapidly along to Bill to fill that silence.
I mean, I could probably
mean,
say more, but we'll get everybody's general thoughts, I guess.
I mean, I'm kind of going to fall into the same category. At
Oh.
the time, I didn't realize it was going to be nearly as important as it was.
Okay,
It was
that's
just
fair.
another superhero movie when I first saw it, and it's only with the expansion of superhero movies that have come after that I've realized quite how good it actually was.
Okay, you know what? That's actually one of the things I wanted to kind of bring up while we
I mean,
were
I
talking
wouldn't
about
call
all
it good,
this.
but
Oh, I didn't think it was that bad at all, to be completely
I didn't
honest.
say it was bad, but I didn't say it was good.
No,
either.
I guess I think probably, and this is going to be really, really weird for me to say, and I can't believe I'm letting you record me saying this, so I can't dodge it later on in life. But I think it was probably it's probably one of the best Marvel movies they could have done at the time. It wasn't a bad film in any way. There was nothing about it that you could criticize and say, oh my God, this is, another Salinger Captain America crap or, something like that. It was a good movie.
Another good choice they made with it too was going with Iron Man, whom people forget nowadays, but at the time, no one gave a shit about Iron Man.
That is very true too.
He was like a C-tier superhero, and he's only risen back to prominence because of the MCU. And so if the idea flopped, because at the time they didn't know it was going to work, they're not doing damage to one of their big properties. They've got an untested, unreliable lead, and they're doing a hero no one really cared about. So if it didn't work, the damage is minimal.
Yeah.
Because at the time, too, Robert Downey Jr. was like a no-touch because he had been so unreliable in the past with his addiction problems.
You know what? That's a very accurate point. Robert Downey Jr.'s career began with him just being one of the Brat Pack kind of actors, but he went on to do films like Chaplin and films like that were very well received and that he did a great job in, and he proved himself to be quite the talented actor. But his substance abuse kind of started to destroy his career. And this was a massive comeback for him.
Yeah, because really before that, like in the 2000s, what had Downey Jr. done? He was in some stuff in the 90s, and then no one was using him anymore.
That's true, yeah. I think every time I've watched the original Iron Man, I've enjoyed it more each time. I would call it a really good movie, in reality. I don't know.
You're going to have to admit to what you did, Ryan.
I just
he'd been lowered.
Well, no, the first time I did watch it, I wasn't too impressed. I don't think I even finished it the first time that I watched it, but I also did confuse in my head which one we were talking about as what Bill's referring to, because I thought we were. I don't know. I'm not all here, but I was confused with Hulk for a second in here. So I wouldn't have really fully said it was just okay for the Iron Man purposes of this. It was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, and this may be unfair, and you're welcome to shout at me when I say this. A part of me always felt like one of the reasons they chose Iron Man was because the Dark Knight Batman trilogy had begun in, I think, 2005.
Yeah,
was
beginning in 2005.
Yeah, and that had done really, really well. But it was basically a man without superpowers who uses his money to, become a superhero. Blah 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 blah. And I think they looked at Iron Man very similar, in that, okay, here's a guy without superpowers, so he's a good place to start with a superhero movie. If we're going to do this, let's do Iron Man, because Batman was popular. So maybe we can, you sort of grab the same magic in a bottle.
That's plausible. Another thing is he's also pretty much the polar opposite of what Sony was doing at the time.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, my God. Let's not even talk about the Fantastic Four. Let's just pretend they don't exist. Was that Fox?
Sony Spider-Man.
I was thinking of the Spider-Mans. But yeah, Fox, the same thing. They were both very super-powered based franchises.
Fox would be worse at the time in terms of what they were producing.
And so to do a very grounded movie, because Iron Man does crazy stuff, but it's all explained with technology that's only slightly more advanced than what we actually have at the time.
You want to talk about Fox in 2008? That was the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie.
Oh.
I don't want to talk about that now.
You sure?
Well, we can talk about that if you want.
Let me just say that the decision at the end of Deadpool 2 to murder that Deadpool was one of the best decisions ever made.
You know what, Ryan? I think we've discovered a subject for perhaps another...
a future episode. Let's go.
Future episode. The X-Men
Actually,
movies.
I would very much enjoy doing an episode shitting on some of those terrible Fox movies.
Well, we might have to do that.
Stay tuned, guys. We're definitely going to do it in the future.
Yeah. I think
which I will also probably get yelled at for defending the Wolverine.
Maybe. Depends on...
It's not as bad as people think it is.
That's the one where he goes to Japan?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so totally going to shit on you on that.
I love it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I guess let's not stray too far
Well,
and get
Stan
back to
Lee's
Iron
dead,
Man.
so he can't give me my time back. So I'm going to take it out on Bill.
That's fair enough, honestly.
Oh, don't worry. I lose time like that every time I talk to you.
Fuck.
Oh, oh,
You
Oh,
walked right into that one, Dan.
wow. Well,
you're gonna hit him.
Okay,
You're gonna hit him with that when he's still recovering from the Queen stuff. His
That's
close
right,
childhood
Just
friend.
because he raised her as a child.
oh, look, just get back on topic here, you bastards.
So
Okay,
Iron Man 1 in 2008
Iron
was
Man
a
1,
pretty good
okay.
movie.
Good movie, good casting. I thought
Really
the
good
casting was
casting.
right. Although I'm really, really, really dislike Gwyneth Paltrow as a human being. Not quite as much as J.K. Rowling, but I still dislike her.
Yeah, I'm not a Gwyneth Paltrow fan as a person, but she's
I-
good as Pepper.
Yeah, I've never particularly liked her. She did a great job as Pepper. Downey Jr. did a fantastic job as Tony Stank. Even Bridges did a great job as whatever the hell his name was.
Stan.
Obadiah Stane. Yeah, I thought the casting was really, really good.
Terrence Howard did a great job of getting replaced.
He did a
Oh, you
fantastic
went
job
there.
of getting replaced. Oh, come on.
Don
Right.
Cheadle is so much better as Rhodey.
I like Don Cheadle more. Terrence
Don
Howard
Cheadle.
did good with what he had here, but like he screwed himself by getting involved.
Yeah, I thought Don Cheadle just made the role his own 30 seconds into his first line.
Yeah,
You know,
Don
I mean,
Cheadle's
Terrence
great.
Howard looks more like Rhodey does in the comics,
Fair enough. Yep.
but performance-wise, I would much rather watch Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle has more
Terrence
personality,
Howard was just there.
and Rhodey's supposed to be like Rhodey should have some personality to him. So Don Cheadle.
Yeah, he needs a strong personality to go up against Tony. Like, Terrence Howard just got steamrolled by
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.'s performances.
Oh, he did. He did. Absolutely.
And I mean, that kind of worked for the way they wrote Rhodey in that, where Tony would just walk all over him. But long term, once he becomes War Machine, he can't keep that trait.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the two actors, Don Cheadle is, in my personal opinion, a superior actor.
No.
He's got so much talent. It's just embarrassing. And, no disrespect to Terrence Howard. He's a great actor. But he's the kind of actor I would expect to see on TV.
Yeah.
Whereas Don Cheadle is, this guy's a leading man. He's a chameleon. He's fantastic.
Yeah, they could do a War Machine movie with Don Cheadle, and I would watch it. If they did a War Machine movie with
I think
Terrence
they're doing
Howard,
an
I wouldn't.
I think
Yeah.
they're doing an Armor Wars show that he's supposed to be a part of.
Well,
Of course.
Of course, that should kill it completely.
But I don't know if he'll be the lead in that, or if they're going to go with Ironheart as the lead.
Well, I don't know. I think it's going to be multiple characters. So Ironheart will probably be in there. He'll be in there. Who knows?
Are
yeah,
you saying
it's gonna
show
have a-
or movie?
It's a show. Disney Plus show.
Okay, so that
It's supposed to
really
be in
will
like
destroy
2025
any
or something. Well, they don't
semblance
even
of-
have a release
going
date
to
yet.
It's probably going to be bad by the trend of Disney Plus shows.
It wasn't even put
Yeah.
on the release slate yet. Some people thought it got canceled quietly, but the creator said it hasn't. But we'll see.
Okay, yeah,
I doubt they're canceling it because those shows are such cash cows.
they are. They really are. But I don't want to go to how each rated it yet. I just want to talk about the movie itself. Like, one of the things I said on our other podcast was how much I really, really liked Iron Man's origin story and how creative it was, how thoughtful it was, how topical it was. And I thought they did a great job of updating it and giving it sort of a modern spin. How they don't Robert Downey Jr. played the character so well in that. I found myself becoming very, very attached to Yeltsin. Very quickly in the film. Like, the production values were decent. Everything about the way
Jensen's death actually mattered.
It
And
did.
That's rare for a character that's been on screen for less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, he just like he just you are actually upset when he dies. You know he's going to die, but it hurts when he's dead. You're looking at him going, okay, no, he should have lived. But it motivated us as viewers, which means, it really, really worked as a motivation for Tony Stark to become Iron Man and try and right, not necessarily all his wrongs, but try and right the wrongs of the world.
I think the first one very much was him trying to right his wrongs. He took on the wrongs of the world later, but the first one, it was all
At
his
first, yeah.
because he destroys the weapon cache that were all his weapons that got into the wrong hands. Then he builds the Iron Man suit mostly just because he can. He's just fucking around. And then he sees the news report. Well, he gets told that his weapons are still being sold to terrorists. So that's still kind of his wrong. And then he sees the news report that it's Jensen's village, and he feels responsible for Jensen's death. So he goes there and fights the terrorists again. And then it's Stain finding his armor.
Yes.
It's all just him fixing his wrongs. It's in Iron Man 2 that he starts taking on the wrongs of the world.
Okay, that's fair. I sort of didn't really characterize it as much as I wanted to. But I do think it was the origin is what made him a superhero. He admits he's Iron Man at the end of the film.
He sure does.
He does. But it's the fact that he makes himself a superhero in I don't want to say creative way so much as in a way that you're as a viewer, you're watching this going, yeah, that's cool. If I had that ability, if I had that money, maybe I would do the same thing. Right? Like I can understand why he chose to go from being this, spoiled rich billionaire playboy to risking his life to save innocent people.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the personal nature of the wrongs he was writing in the first movie are what make it work. Because if he jumped right into, I'm going to be a superhero and save the world, it would make no sense. Because Tony Stark, before he became Iron Man, was a bad person.
Yes, he was. He was just intolerable. Right. And this changed him fundamentally inside as a human being. He couldn't, I don't want to say look away so much as he couldn't hide from the impact he'd had on the world. Right? There's no way to avoid it. It was on the news. It was right in his face. He was lying in a cave hooked up to a car battery to stay alive. There's no way he can turn his back on it. He had to make a decision, and when he did make the decision, Jensen's death just forced him to become more empathetic to, people who were not rich, people who weren't him. He stopped using people.
Yeah, he never really paid attention to them before.
No, they were minions. They were just people people were just things he used to get what he wanted.
Yeah. Like even Rhodey, who's ostensibly one of his friends.
Yeah.
He just left him waiting on the tarmac for 3 hours while he fucked off and did rich guy stuff.
Yeah. And they do a very good job of showing how shallow and superficial he was as a person. He had the money to do whatever he wanted, so he did whatever he wanted.
Well, there were scenes with him and ladies and stuff and everything. Living his playboy lifestyle.
Yeah, the gambling, dragging the reporter home and, having, fun with her and all this stuff. It was just just him sort of living the pleasures of the flesh, per se. And then suddenly he's confronted by his own legacy. He sort of someone who lived long enough and to face the reality that he had created. And it's, it changes him.
He's also confronted by his own mortality.
That as well, yes, absolutely. And I thought they did a fantastic job of sort of laying that story out. Right, I really, really, really liked that they were able to tell you that story in a believable way.
Yeah. No,
I definitely agree with that. And, I'm going to mention it now because Stain's one of the big culprits that gets mentioned in this. But the reputation that Phase 1 Marvel doesn't have good villains, I don't really agree with it because in most of the stories, you don't want the villain to be the center of attention.
True.
Most of the stories they tell in Phase 1 are origin stories, where the interesting part is Tony's journey. If they establish Stain as a really dominant villain in like a Thanos mold or a Joker mold from Batman, you don't get Tony growing as a person
Yeah.
and becoming a good person, and it's just another superhero movie. It's nothing special.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that completely.
Stain has done well, and people complain about the villains more early on, and they're like, oh, they're always just killed off and blah blah. Well, it makes sense here, and this was the first one too. Like, of course,
well,
like
on a sliding Marvel scale, ignoring other movies, just sticking to the MCU only, I would say I would give Iron Man an 8 out of 10 as far as it goes for Marvel movies.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'd give it maybe a 7, probably.
Okay.
I think there's a lot more that are way better, but I think this, for the MCU Phase 1, for this being the kickoff, this is a very, almost surprisingly good movie. A surprisingly good way to kick it off.
I think there are some that are better, but they're not that much better.
Yeah, I think they set the bar very, very high.
I don't know. I think there's a decent amount that's quite a bit better than this one, personally.
Well,
But that's
we'll
why
find
mine's
that out.
lower than your guys'.
Yeah, we'll find out as we move along.
I guess we will, because we're gonna at least cover 3 phases of this shit. So.
Yep. So let's talk about the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, goody! This is the one I meant was okay, by the way.
Okay. Do you want to rant on this one first, Ryan? Since you seem to be most attached to it.
Well, I mean, I just watched it for the first time this week for full.
Oh, okay.
And to be also fair, I wasn't really giving it my full attention half the time, so you know. Edward Norton did a fine job as Bruce Banner / the Hulk.
Agreed. I thought he actually was a good choice.
Liv Tyler was good as the love interest. General Ross is great at being a fucking cunt.
I think Ross was the best character in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ross is Ross steals the show. He is the best movie.
Yeah, they really
best
rounded
character in the
him out.
movie. I wish he had his own movie, I guess.
Well,
They might do Red Hulk at some point, but that actor's probably getting on pretty far by now.
The actor's dead.
Is he? Okay,
Yeah,
I don't remember even who it was.
He died
I
earlier
can
this
picture
year.
him, but I'm not good with actors, so I don't actually know who he is.
Well, there was talk he was supposed to be in the She-Hulk show, but he ended up not being able to, of course.
oh, that's a sin. I don't know who the actor was, so let's find out.
Ryan goes on to his more of it. I'll Google quickly.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
I'm supposed to keep talking, am I? Okay, well, I mean...
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth's
steals
not
the
dead.
show.
No, it's not Tim Roth. Tim Roth was
Tim Roth
Abomination.
was Abomination. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
I was
my
gonna
bad.
say.
Tim Blake Nelson. I'm trying to remember who.
It was William Hurt.
William Hurt, yeah.
Oh, fuck. William Hurt died?
Yeah, William Hurt died.
That's a shame.
It is. He was great. I mean, he'd had like 2 heart attacks previously, so he was living
that's
on borrowed
good.
time.
So that sucks. But Bill, that was sort of
Yes.
segue right over to you. How did you feel about Edward Norton playing Bruce Banner?
In the context of that movie I liked it. In the greater MCU, it completely doesn't work because he's so different from Mark Ruffalo.
Okay. I wow. Because
And I mean, I have to defer to Mark Ruffalo because he's in all the movies, so that's clearly the way they want to portray the Hulk.
yes,
And Norton doesn't fit with that at all.
no.
But just in that movie, I liked his take on the Hulk.
I liked his take on Bruce Banner. I was a victim of the Incredible Hulk TV series with Bill Bixby playing Bruce Banner, and I thought Edward Norton was a natural progression
I've
of
never
that.
actually seen an episode of that show.
Uh, uh,
I'm probably all right with keeping it that way.
I'm well. Dan said he was a victim of it, so I mean,
of course, I was also a
Yes,
victim
but
of the
Dan
Wonder
thinks he's
Woman
the victim
series.
of Thor Ragnarok, so I don't
I
necessarily
am.
trust that.
that's
I
fair.
am.
I
That's
can't wait
so
for us to get to.
But no, anyway, I thought Edward Norton did a great job with a well-established superhero. Right, the Hulk is probably one of the better known Marvel superheroes, especially because the TV series was insanely popular when it was out. And to Norton's credit, he put a lot of gravitas in the character that probably wouldn't have been there with another actor.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, in terms of the MCU as a whole, it doesn't really work because they immediately threw most of the gravitas out of the character.
Yes, yes.
And so to have Norton doing this incredibly, like, tortured version just feels out of character with the way they've decided the character works.
Yeah, I think it was entirely in keeping for Marvel to go from sort of the tortured Bruce Banner that Norton had done to the whiny Bruce Banner that Mark Ruffalo became. Because, he's got to be whiny. He's a Marvel superhero. So his alter ego is just some whiny little bitch.
We're not even talking about Spider-Man yet.
I'll say,
Well, we don't have to.
I think for the long-term franchise, the Mark Ruffalo version is better because, like, the Edward Norton version makes for a compelling character in standalone movies or like a trilogy or so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to watch that version like 14 times over various movies. I'd want him to find some sort of peace and end his arc. The Ruffalo version has more longevity because it's more fun.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you on that.
The Ruffalo version kind of like accepts his fate as Hulk, I guess, more too.
I mean, that was kind of the arc that was going. That's one of the things they carried over with the Norton version, that he was accepting his fate because he was.
Yeah, he kind of
Like,
started
at
to
the
have
end.
to. And
At the end, they had the reveal where he, instead of controlling his anger, he got angry and his eyes turned green, but he didn't transform right when it ended.
Yeah.
And so that kind of plays into then in Avengers, jumping ahead a bit, when Ruffalo reveals his secret for controlling his power, which is that he's just always angry.
Yeah.
So that was one of the few true lines they kept between those two versions.
And I guess, to the She-Hulk version of Hulk, where he's basically Lou Costello to her Bud Abbott. You haven't seen it yet, so we'll avoid it for now. But trust me, they changed him again.
Even from the Endgame version, because in the previews he just looked like the Endgame version.
Well, I mean it more his personality than anything.
Yeah, no, I know he was clearly the half Ruffalo, half Hulk version. But I was talking personality-wise too. In the previews, they didn't really show any change to his personality.
Oh, yeah, wait till you see the show.
But then they're probably trying to draw people in.
They are. They are. And She-Hulk is not a TV show made for Marvel fans. It's not. It's just not made for people who like the comic books. Marvel comic books.
I mean, like we were talking about this last night, and I was planning to bring it up on a later phase discussion. But since you've made that opening, I'm going to say right now, basically, Civil War was the point when they decided that the MCU was for fans of the MCU, not for fans of Marvel Comics.
That's a really good point. Actually, I hadn't thought about it, coherently like that, but that's a very valid point because it really did step away from any attempt at sticking to the canon. And
yeah, that was the point when they said, fine, this is its own thing. We're not telling comic book stories in a little different way. This is its own entire separate universe, and they've hinted at it being 616 subsequently, but it clearly cannot be because there are so many contradictions.
Yeah. Yeah. So, final rating on The Incredible Hulk? Bill?
5.
Okay, Ryan?
I'll agree with Bill, 5. I don't like to agree with you guys sometimes, but here we are.
Well, you know what? I'm going to agree with both of you. 5 sounds fair.
Right in the middle.
Yeah,
it's
right
okay.
in the middle. It's not
an okay
a
movie.
bad film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely not a film I would watch a second time.
I would watch it again, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again. If it was on TV and I was bored, or if I was hanging out with someone that wanted to watch it, I wouldn't have a problem with watching it. But it's not one I seek out.
I won't watch this again because I barely watched it the first time, so...
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I struggled to pay attention to it. It was far too easy to get distracted when it was on.
It has some really... Yeah, exactly. It has some really good moments going. It has some solid stuff going for it. I mean, like we said, Ross steals the show for how much of a dick he is.
Yeah. It's the one that I do look at for the weak villain syndrome, because I brought that up. Because it's not an origin story, so it needs a stronger villain to carry.
Yeah.
And even though in the comics, Abomination is one of Hulk's biggest villains,
it wasn't done well here.
They fail so hard with Abomination in that movie.
It wasn't done well here.
Like, Blonsky, Tim Roth does a great job as Blonsky.
He just kind of decides that he's
gonna... But once he turns into Abomination, it's just a one-dimensional evil Hulk. There's nothing interesting about him.
Yeah.
I will say that I got kind of pissed off when some of this plot revolved around that damn bottled stuff. The damn bottled drink and his blood getting into it and stuff. And
no,
I got annoyed by that.
They needed a way to find him somehow or there wouldn't be a movie.
It didn't bother me at all, to be honest.
I mean, it was a hilarious Stan Lee cameo, at least out of it, but...
Yeah, because that's what I go to the films for.
Well, I mean, it's the Incredible Hulk, so...
Yeah. Let's move rapidly along to Iron Man 2. Ooh, and Bill, do you want to start off on this one?
This is a movie that exists.
I like this one more than most people do.
Oh, I'm landing solidly on Bill's side on this. This movie exists.
I know. I'm the outlier here. I know. It's okay.
It's better than
take
3.
It. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure. I think they're about the same, honestly. They have different things that are good to... and in neither case is what's good about it the main point of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, they introduced some characters like
Yeah.
Black Widow and
Well, that's
Iron
part of why I
Man's
like this
baby.
movie so much, because we get our Don Cheadle War Machine Rhodey in this one. We
Yes,
get our Black Widow in this one. It's actually a very important movie with a kind of shit plot revolving around it.
yeah. It's
It's
sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
it's an important movie that I haven't watched since 2010.
Justin Hammer's actually really good. The
Hammer is good. I liked
Hammer is
Hammer.
great. They really fucked up and jumbled and meshed together multiple characters to get us fucking Whiplash or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Whiplash is dog shit compared to the comics, and he's not good
Yeah,
in the comics. And I'm a huge Mickey Rourke fan, so the fact that I hated that, because this came out right after The Wrestler, which is one of my favorite movies,
Well, they
and so I was so excited to see Mickey Rourke in the MCU, and that's what I got.
they fucked
yeah,
Mickey Rourke on that role though.
yeah.
Obviously.
I, I get as far as casting goes on this one. It was an absolute joy to see Don Cheadle show up. I thought Scarlett Johansson. I've always been fond of her acting. I think she's very talented. I thought she was an excellent choice to play Black Widow, although she is a very petite woman in real life. She's still
Black Widow's not exactly big in real life either, though.
no, but she's
Oh, I say real life, I mean in the comics.
yeah. But for a diminutive actress like Scarlett Johansson to take on that role, not only make it her own, but to be as physically dominating of bad guys as she is. It's I thought Scarlett Johansson did a fantastic job of sort of creating her version of the Black Widow character. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
Right?
and I like that they gave her the Stitwell role from the comics.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in the comics, the shield bodyguard that gets assigned to Tony is a goody two shoes named Stitwell that they
Okay.
later actually used in the MCU as a random Hydra goon. I
Okay.
think in Winter Soldier, it was Stitwell that she kicked off the building.
You're correct.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I like that they put Black Widow in there because it let them set up for Avengers.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Because
that's what.
Stitwell never really becomes a major player in the 616 comic universe. He's just. Mostly he was a comedic foil for Tony because he was so stiff and by the book.
Yeah.
That's from this movie to Avengers is all about setting up for Avengers, as we'll also talk about through Thor and Captain America. Captain America less so than the other two, but still.
Yeah. I thought Downey's. This was probably of all the times he's played Iron Man. I thought this was probably his weakest entry.
Yeah, Tony doesn't really experience any change in this movie.
No,
Well,
Downey
that's
was
part of
just
why
kind of
it's
there.
a bit weak too.
They're so much more focused on Whiplash and on War Machine and on Black Widow that, and for obvious reasons, that you know the Tony Stark part of Iron Man is kind of there, and that's it, and it shows him sort of slowly slipping back into Tony Stark don't give a shit mode, but it it's just I was almost indifferent to the
Yeah,
Tony
and I
Stark.
don't think even his slipping back into the old Tony was meant as some sort of character growth. It's because they didn't have anything to give him a character arc, so they just reused the character arc from Iron Man 1.
Yes, yeah,
Like, there was no narrative purpose for him to have started acting like the old Tony.
yeah, absolutely,
In the third one, he's being a dick because he's got PTSD.
yeah,
In the second one, he's just being a dick because they needed him to be a dick so he could stop being a dick.
yeah. So War Machine could exist basically.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they needed motivations for War Machine to exist. They needed motivations for Natasha Romanoff to be part of this story, and I, I guess they used Tony Stark as the motivation for those two.
Yeah, and I almost end up just like preferring to think of Black Widow's introduction as the one you get in Avengers when she's captured, and yet she's the one that's completely in control,
Yes.
rather than the one we get in Iron Man 2, where it's painfully contrived and really just there because we need this character set up for Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, that's fair. That's right. Because they introduce her, they give her some things to do, but they don't take advantage of her until almost the end of the film.
And even then, if you don't know who she is,
Yeah.
you don't care. Like, comic fans were marking out because they knew who she was.
Of course.
Every single person that just came in for the MCU did not give a shit and didn't even remember her by the time Avengers came around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like, I've
fair.
watched a lot of MCU reactions, and 99% of the time, people have no clue who she is. And once in a while, you'll get someone who's like, oh yeah, that's that woman that was with Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually fair. I'm familiar enough with the MCU and with the Marvel Comics to say, oh my God, they brought Black Widow into this film. This is really cool. I thought, neat.
I hope Daredevil comes in as abusive to her.
Yeah, well, it's no different.
He's not so much abusive as indifferent and distant.
Fair enough. I mean, I haven't actually read them.
That's for the best. That's not a good run. It's not kind at all to Natasha. But that's more generalized 70s misogyny than specific Matt is abusive. He's not Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but all in all, it was, to me, it was kind of a throwaway movie. It was like the Search for Spock of the MCU Phase 1. It existed. It tied the next couple of films together. I didn't really care about it. I watched it once, and I've never felt any urge whatsoever to go back and watch it.
It does better at setup than it does telling its own story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw it twice in theaters and haven't watched it since.
Oh, there you go. That kind of answers that question. So, do we have a rating?
Ratings. We have ratings.
Let's do it. Ryan, your turn to go first.
I'll just give this a 6 and call it a day.
What the fuck?
What do you mean?
6.
I'd rather watch this than Incredible Hulk. At least it has Black Widow. I'm a Black Widow mark, okay? It has Black Widow, it has Don Cheadle's Rhodey / War Machine, it has Justin Hammer. Justin Hammer's really good.
You have problems.
I know.
Okay, Bill, what did you give it?
3.
What? How's it that low? It's not even tied with Hulk?
Hulk works. Hulk is a standalone movie that I don't mind watching again if it's on. I have zero desire to ever expose myself to Iron Man.
That's
2
where we
again.
feel different. I'm not watching Hulk again. I'd watch this again for fun.
Yeah.
Well, not really. I would watch it, I would watch it. I would be willing to watch this one more, is what I'm trying to say.
Really?
I generally even skip reactions to this one because I'm so indifferent to its existence.
Okay, I give it a 4. I liked The Incredible Hulk better than I liked this film. But I liked this film better than some of the other ones that came along later on in like Phase 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, there's definitely at least one Phase 2 movie that I've got rated lower than this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill and I both.
Yeah. But, so we got a 5, a 3, and a 4 on that one. That's kind
Six.
of
No,
interesting.
I
3
gave
and
a
4.
6.
Oh, 6, 3, and 4.
Because I gave it.
Insane.
I don't get the
I
6.
gave
but-
Incredible Hulk a 5, so it was either 5.5 or 6. Because I would rather watch this one again, and I like this one more.
Interesting.
It has more. Justin Hamm is really great. Black Widow's introduced. I love Black Widow, and Don Cheadle as War Machine / Rhodey is really good too.
I find
This is the cinematic equivalent of one of those comics you guys gave me shit for calling pointless.
I'm willing to negotiate and go down to a 5.5, but it's still going to be above Hulk. So
I find your lack of taste disturbing. Okay, so but
Next is Thor.
that does bring us straight to Thor, 2011, and I guess my turn to start on it. And uh, uh, um, I, I'm not a big Thor mark. I don't really like the character that much, which is the first strike against the film for me personally. I don't like Thor that much. And I really felt after having watched the film that there wasn't a lot to it. It could have been a TV episode. There's just so little to the show, to the film. I love the casting. I love the fact they brought Natalie Portman in. You know, she brings a great deal of talent to the MCU. Anthony Hopkins, same thing. He brings a huge amount of talent to the MCU that wasn't there. You know, they gave this film a lot of legitimacy that I didn't think it deserved. And so I just think it was kind of one of those films that it could have been a half hour long. Anybody?
I enjoy this film, but not for the plot.
Okay.
The story is paper thin.
It is. It's visually gorgeous, but
what makes this film work for me is Chris Hemsworth as Thor doing the fish out of water bit.
Okay, yes, Chris Hemsworth was the best thing about the movie.
All the little moments, like I watch Thor fairly regularly, but I usually skip over the part where they go to Jotunheim, like the Asgardian stuff, and just start it when he gets hit by the truck.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Because I really enjoy his interactions with humans. Those are pretty consistently hilarious.
They are. They are.
Everything from him yelling about how you will not imprison the mighty Thor while getting a shot in the ass and passing out, to getting hit multiple times by James Van, to going into a pet store and demanding a horse, and when they didn't have one, asking for a dog large enough to ride. All that stuff is fantastic. And Loki is not great in this.
No, Tom Hiddleston in this one was not.
He does a good job with what he's given, but they don't really get Loki's character down until Avengers.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. I do. Ryan?
This movie, this movie's hard to kind of explain because I hand in hand really enjoy this movie, and then I think each time I watch it, it almost feels like I kind of enjoy it a little less. It's not got a ton of rewatchability to it. But it was like the first time I actually sat down and watched this after avoiding watching it for so long, I highly enjoyed it. But when you really examine what's there, it's kind of it's kind of all right. Like it's still pretty good for an opening to Thor, but it's not fantastic.
Yeah, I think it has the weakest plot of Phase 1.
Yeah, it's
Iron Man 2.
No, Iron Man 2 had a better plot than this.
Iron Man 2 had stuff happen. The thing that makes Thor work is the cast chemistry that Iron Man 2 doesn't really have.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this was fluff compared to everything else that they did in the first phase. In my mind. Right, it was a huge tone shift, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, this is back when the MCU movies actually did feel like different genres somewhat.
Yeah.
Because this one is primarily an interpersonal comedy.
Yeah, it's a kid's movie compared to the other ones in a lot of ways. You know, like I say, there's not a lot of substance to it. like again, it's visually, it's gorgeous. Like it's beautifully done special effects. You could see
Yeah,
they were
I've
getting
got to say, the effect when he first becomes Thor again, like when he dies and becomes Thor into lightning, you see like the chainmail forming on his body and stuff.
yeah,
That is a stunning effect.
yeah, yeah. About the Rainbow Bridge, you know, all everything that they did as far as special effects go, you could see where they were becoming a little more comfortable with using CGI to create more than just, you know, the Hulk per se,
Yeah.
right? You know, like there was the CGI, you know, was the backgrounds, you know, the colors, like everything about it, and
This is also when they started moving more towards filming in hangars instead of on location.
yes, and it I don't know. It was just, it was too funny to really be taken seriously. It was nice that they introduced Hawkeye, you know, like bring some more Avengers
Yeah,
into
there's
this.
more Avengers set up
Right.
for that.
Yeah.
But I
See, I
thought,
kind of count Hawkeye the same as Widow in Iron Man 2, where I don't really think of his origin as being in Thor, even though I like Thor.
I
His origin to me is always his appearance in Avengers.
I honestly think that's even more blatant for Hawkeye than Widow a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, he totally doesn't matter in Thor. He's there so that you can go, oh yeah, he was in Thor when they do Avengers.
My God, that's Hawkeye. Where's his mask?
Why isn't he in a toga?
Where the fuck is his?
I mean, if we're
suit?
going deep, we're going real deep on the Hawkeye costumes. You might not have experienced toga Hawkeye yet, Ryan.
I think I've seen it before, but I've never fully witnessed.
It was not a good period in his life.
I feel like you could say that for a lot of his life. Oh, Hawkeye's a better character that he's given credit for. So.
Yeah, and I actually think MCU Hawkeye is really good.
MCU Hawkeye is way better than. He's so disrespected. But I don't know.
Do we have anything else?
I don't know. Do we? I didn't. I mean, I didn't really say that much about this movie, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I still enjoy Loki here, but it's definitely not the best Loki, like you guys said. Jane, this is definitely the best Jane I've seen so far.
Oh, hands down, Jane's great in this.
Jane's
and
really
Kat
great in
Dennings
this.
as the assistant is really fun.
Yeah, and this one she's not too bad. Even Eric Selvig or whatever is decent here. The side cast is really good here. I don't really. I mean, it is a pretty thin plot. The destroyer armor fin it's kind of cool, but then it's pretty paper thin in terms of.
That's not really a strike against
What
it.
goes
I
with?
like that when he turns into Thor, he just beats the fuck out of it in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'm fine with it really. Oh, I mean,
It
it
did
doesn't.
the destroyer dirty, but
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, he needed to beat the shit out of something to establish his godlyhood.
Yeah, so it's kind of just whatever. I mean, friggin' what costume for Odin too, which was mentioned already. So I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to say more. So we can go to our ratings, I suppose.
Did we lose Dan?
Dan? Oh
oh,
shit!
sorry, did you hear me? I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, okay. So let's go to Bill first.
I give this one a 6, but that's not plot related. That's entirely just because I enjoy the interaction so much.
Okay, Ryan?
Um, this one's hard to rate.
Yes.
Quite honestly, I think. Oh, I don't know. This is harder for me because I really enjoyed it the first time, but then the more I watch it, I seem to enjoy it less. So, I think for now I'm just gonna land on the 7 that I gave Iron Man as well.
Okay,
Wow, you're generous with these.
you are. I'm gonna.
I was gonna say 6.5, but I
When
changed.
you were saying I keep enjoying it less, I was expecting you to land on a 5.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. There's part of me that still likes it more than Iron Man in ways, but then at the same time, there's some stuff going on in Iron Man that is better too. So I figured I'd just land them on the same spot.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna give it a 6 on the caveat that at least 1 point of that 6 goes to Kat Dennings. No, seriously, she was an absolute delight in this film.
Oh no, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing because she's probably my favorite character in this.
She is brilliantly funny. I mean,
She's so subtle with this stuff, and then she'll just bust out these lines that crack me up.
oh yeah, her delivery is just spot on. Right, it's so precise. It's so well done.
And I've always liked Kat Dennings as an actress too.
Yes, and I mean, Skarsgård as Selvig also was a great casting choice. Again, the one thing that Thor did was bring in some very, very serious high-end talent to this film, into this universe. And so, yeah, excuse me, I'm going to go with a 6. But that brings us right along to, wait for it, bum bum bum, Captain America, the First Avenger. And Bill.
I thought that was Wasp.
Yeah. The little buzzy body.
Oh my god.
You're so proud of that joke.
I am. I'm gonna use that to
I shouldn't have
death.
fucking brought Wasp off.
If you guys hadn't laughed, I wouldn't be using it again. It's your fault.
It's okay. Well, I'm blaming Bill more for that then.
Yeah, it just got me right.
Caught you at the right moment. So, Bill, do you want to start with Captain America?
Sure. This is my favorite first Phase 1 movie.
I think I agree
Really?
on that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's unique. It nails the feel of the early comics. The story's entertaining, good casting, good dynamics amongst the cast. Howard Stark is hilarious. I have very little bad to say about this movie.
I have a few issues with it. No, I do.
Of course.
I just expect that from you, so
I
it's just
know.
funny that you went like that.
I know. I liked the casting. I really, really, really liked the casting in this film. Haley Atwell was just an inspired choice.
Oh yeah, she's a perfect Peggy.
She is. Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull was an inspired choice. I think about the only casting that kind of made me twitch a little bit was Tommy Lee Jones.
I really enjoyed Tommy Lee Jones.
I think he's a great actor, but he kind of just didn't fit in with the rest of them. But my main nitpick is bringing in the Howling Commandos and not really using them.
That's fair.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
I got so excited when I saw Dum Dum Dugan. I did. I went, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is so epic. And then, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I watched it again after I've started reading the Howling Commandos comics for this podcast.
Yeah.
And they're all there,
Yes, they are.
which I love, but I'm kind of like I'm disappointed they didn't do more with them. But on the other hand,
You kind of
I
understand
kind
why.
of well, I was going to say beyond that, I kind of enjoy in the early MCU movies, they have these Easter eggs for the comics fans. Like, if you're just an MCU watcher, you don't know who any of these guys are, and it doesn't matter. But if you're a comics fan, they give you enough that you realize it's the Howlers.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's a kind of fun little cameo. But
But it's not
I'm
a
not
cameo.
gonna.
It's a thing. It's like they become integral to what's going on in the film. They're part of his posse. But they're just
They're
kind
not
of there.
important. Yeah, but them being the Howlers isn't important to the film. The point is just that he had a bunch of guys, and he's going around wrecking shit, and the Nazis have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who those guys are.
Not necessarily the Nazis. It's Hydra. Remember, Nazis is a bad word. Okay, it's Hydra.
I already accidentally said the C word in this episode, so it's okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You did.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. Personally, I don't want to become one of those things that start saying like unalived, so that they don't get nailed for saying killed, because people think that that gets demonetized.
Granted. But anyway.
I'm not gonna like sugarcoat when someone's a Nazi. They're a Nazi.
Yeah.
And Hydra definitely are Nazis. They just don't want to work for Hitler Nazis.
Yeah. Anyways, there were a lot of things about the film I liked. I loved how they captured the 40s. You know, and it did feel like a comic book movie, like it felt like a comic book. You know, just how he decides, using the car door as a shield. There are a lot of little subtle things, and some not so subtle, to be honest, that kind of help the character become who he is, right? You know, even when he grabs the helmet with the letter A on it. Right. You know, like there's a lot of fun little things that make the movie work. And it's not my favorite of Phase 1, but I'd say it's probably my second favorite. Ryan?
That's fair enough. I'm not gonna make fun of you too much for that.
I think it's probably my third or fourth favorite, but it's definitely my favorite of Phase 1.
There you go. Chris Evans as Captain America.
Perfect.
Really.
He really is America's ass.
The Human Torch. The Human Torch becomes Captain America, and you guys are okay with this.
Look at that performance and tell me he's not Steve Rogers.
He's not Steve Rogers.
I didn't think he was a great casting as Johnny Storm. I think he's perfect as Captain America.
You and I differ absolutely, completely on that. I thought he was the best casting of the Fantastic Four.
Well, that's not saying much.
Okay, see, I would agree with you on that, and still think he's a bad casting as Johnny Storm.
I thought he was a good casting as Johnny Storm, personally. I thought he was good.
He was fine.
He was fine, but I mean... He didn't
They've never nailed down the Fantastic Four, though, so...
No,
yeah, no
he
kidding.
didn't really have the arrogant twattiness that I expect from Johnny Storm.
I mean, he had a little bit of it, but he didn't go full force on it.
I didn't want to punch him in the face every second he was on the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
You failed!
Yeah. But I feel like there's more we should say about this film.
There probably certainly is. I mean, I haven't said anything about it, so...
I want to take issue with you're saying Tommy Lee Jones didn't work.
Not for me.
Because I thought he was perfect in that role. Because, yeah, he
Who's
didn't
Tommy Lee
fit with
Jones?
the-
Is it Red
he
Skull?
didn't fit with... No, he was the
Colonel.
soldier.
The Colonel.
The Colonel, yeah. Who didn't see anything in Steve. And, like, he didn't fit with the others, but that was the point. He wasn't supposed to.
Oh, I know. It was Tommy Lee Jones being Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes, and part of that might be that I've read the old comics from the 40s.
Yeah.
And that character is a very Tommy Lee Jones character.
Okay. Yeah,
Like, if anything, they made him a little funnier because it's the MCU.
He's still skinny.
Yeah, like, that line is perfect, and I'm not kissing you is also perfect. Like, those lines are so good. The way he delivers them, where he's, like, kind of going along with it, but he's almost being cranky because he's expected to be cranky.
Yeah.
So, okay, Nick Fury.
Well, like I said, I just felt he was just Tommy Lee Jones being Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not...
But then Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is Samuel L. Jackson being Samuel L. Jackson. Pretty much everyone agrees that one works.
Yeah, I don't think it works at all. I do not like Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. Anybody else. Oh my God, they could have brought in Stephen Colbert and he would have been better Nick Fury.
Samuel Jackson.
It's Samuel Jackson being Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah,
And oh, God. But that's a whole different phase. We'll talk about that later.
I mean,
literally the next movie.
yeah.
He's been in every movie we've talked about so far.
Oh, that's right.
We just haven't
He's
mentioned them yet.
He's just, I just did not like Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. I did not like him as Nick Fury.
I mean, I don't know if he was in Thor. I think Coulson was in Thor. I don't know if he was though.
He was in Thor.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember his role in Thor, so.
He was telling, I think it was him telling Hawkeye to let Thor get to the hammer and see what happened.
Oh, yeah, you might be right there.
I'll have to check that.
I'm not sure. It's been a while. It might be Coulson.
It might be. I know
Coulson,
Coulson was. I
because
thought it was
Coulson
Coulson.
was the main Shield guy, but I thought they had a brief Fury cameo.
They could have.
They
I don't
might
remember.
Because I know that he has a cameo in this, and I don't know. It was just Samuel Jackson being the same character he is in every other freaking movie he's done in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, but I guess, like, because he really is the progeny of the Black Nick Fury. Before that, I mean, sure, they had the Ultimate Universe, where they modeled him on Nick Fury, or on Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, like, Black Fury is modeled on Nick Fury, of course he's modeled on Nick Fury, is modeled on Samuel L. Jackson. And White Nick Fury doesn't really have much of a personality.
No, he doesn't.
Like I like a lot of the Nick Fury comics and so, but that's because they're fun stories. It's like Nick as a person, not much really happens.
Yeah,
he's just kind of cranky.
He exists. Yeah.
I didn't want David Hasselhoff in the MCU.
No, he was a horrible Nick Fury in the movie he did. He was just horrible.
Granted, but like, so choosing to go with the Samuel L. Jackson inspired Nick Fury and then casting Samuel L. Jackson in it, I actually thought was one of the better decisions they made, because it's the only time Fury's interesting.
Honestly, that's a big. That's a really. It is cool that they fucking created the character and based it off Samuel L. Jackson. Then Samuel L. Jackson's actually casted to play the damn character.
To be fair, I wasn't aware of that. Like, I didn't realize that the character was based on.
You've never read the Ultimate stuff, have you?
In the Ultimates, it is the Ultimate Universe version of the Avengers, and every character on the Avengers team is based to look off an actor, because it was supposed to be based more in reality, and they were kind of joking around. Like, basically, what if these characters were all in movies, and it was like Dreamcasting type situations. Some of them were quite different. Some of them were pretty close. Like, and Nick Fury was spot on. They literally they based it on Samuel L. Jackson, and he later took the role.
Yeah, and I mean, just to make it a little better, this is jumping slightly ahead, but Avengers is basically the first Ultimates arc with a little bit extra thrown in. Is it the first or the second one where Hulk rampages through New York?
The second one, I think. No. It is the first one. Because they introduced the Hulkbuster.
Hulkbuster's second one.
Oh, is that the second one?
Yeah, it's Age of Ultron, by the way.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking arcs in the Avengers. Or in the Ultimates, because like, most of the story is the start of the Ultimates, and then they throw in the alien invasion at the end to tie it to Thanos and start building towards Endgame.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like, most of the characterization, and other than Hulk himself, but most of the other characters are directly lifted from Ultimates. I remember because I read it shortly before Avengers 1 came out, and when I watched the movie, I'm like, this is just the Ultimates.
It might be. I am not familiar enough.
Yeah.
I've only read the first issue of Ultimates, so...
Okay, yeah, I have like the first 2 or 3 graphic novels.
Okay, so we've slipped into a comic podcast. But...
Well, I don't know. Captain America, First Avenger.
Yeah, let's get our ratings.
Yeah, I'll go first. I I give this a 7.
Ryan?
I'm so when I this was besides the Incredible Hulk, this was the last movie from the Phase One MCU that I watched. I avoided this movie for a long time because it was a wartime movie. I didn't think I was gonna like it. Boy, was I wrong. Um, I would probably have to be very kind and give this one an 8.
I would also give it an 8.
That's fair. That's good.
It's my favorite MCU Phase 1 movie, I think, like Bill was saying too. So, if we're being consistent with the rate and sum, then I'd go higher than the 7 I gave Iron Man and Thor.
Yeah, I think it was an extremely worthy sequel to Iron Man. You know, it's one of the 2 main origin films, and it's really good.
I mean, the entire first arc Avengers storyline is basically the dichotomy between Tony and Steve.
Yeah.
The other Avengers are there, but they're supporting cast to Tony and Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do it sooner. It's like have it come in instead of Thor.
I think it was smart to bookend Phase 1.
Yeah.
They were the same year, Thor and Captain America. They're both 2011.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter which one came first, in a way.
I think thematically it works because, like, you go to especially Avengers 1, the theme is the conflict between Tony and Steve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Civil War, the prequel.
But it brings us directly along to the last film of the Phase 1, which is the Avengers.
Well, before we go fully
Sure.
into Avengers, I didn't really actually get to say much about Captain America, so I
Okay.
do want to say, in terms of casting and stuff,
Oh,
like
yes.
Hugo Weaving was a great Red Skull. Of course, I'd introduce Bucky as well, and introduce Haley Atwell as
Peggy.
friggin' Peggy Carter, who is awesome as Peggy Carter. So I just wanted to thoroughly shout some of the stuff.
Yeah, oh,
out,
absolutely. A big shout out to
Yeah.
to both of them.
Can go into Avengers.
Okay.
My recording keeps resetting itself and restarting its recording, so hopefully this turns.
Weird. I hope.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
Hopefully this turns lose you.
Okay,
You're back, but I got a loading bar for a second for your name.
it kept happening there. I don't know what's going on. It just happened like 2 or 3 times in a row. I have like probably 8 different tracks at this point, so I hope this turns out okay.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, we're not losing you. Okay, after that brief interruption, we're going to start talking about the final movie in the series, Phase 1, and that is The Avengers. And Ryan, go for it.
Oh shit. Well, honestly, it's funny you pass this off to me first because I'm probably the biggest critic here of this movie. Personally, like people shit on Age of Ultron a lot too. Personally, I think both of these. I think both of the first Avengers movies, like they're nothing that special. I don't think this movie is all. I don't think this movie is everything it's built up to be. I personally don't think it's that great.
I don't think I agree with you on that.
That's fine.
You might actually be the most favorable because my take on this was that it's not a great movie, but I love it.
I was impressed with the accomplishment.
It's a big accomplishment.
Right. In the same way that there are a lot of things about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings that piss me off, but I love the movie and I will never not be absolutely staggered by the fact that he was able to do it and do it as well as he did. And with the Avengers, I felt like in a lot of ways, the setup that they did for the film made the film work. Because you step into the film and you get exactly what you paid for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the joy I feel watching Avengers never goes down.
There you go.
I absolutely adore that movie, but looking at it objectively as a movie, it's soundly mid in the MCU.
I mean, there's no point in really talking about the casting because we've already talked about all the cast. But
Yeah, there's no one that's
with the exception
truly,
of Hawkeye,
and even he turned up in Thor just irrelevantly.
I
yeah,
mean, Coulson's role in this is pretty great. Before they
I always
semi
like Coulson.
Coulson is
Coulson's
just great
fun.
in general.
yeah, yeah. I thought I thought it was a good first Avengers movie. Like I thought it was solid. Maybe it wasn't the best written of the all these movies, Marvel movies, but I thought they each character got good representation. You know, Captain America got more than his share, and Hawkeye and Scarlet or Black Widow didn't get as much representation, I think, maybe as they deserved. But I thought they were still well represented as characters. I thought the Loki it really got to shine in this film. He was a good choice for a first bad guy. The special effects were fantastic. There was just this nice light dusting of humor in it that I thought really, really worked well. There were some sort of clever little moments in my mind. Tony Stark covering one eye while he's trying to look at all the screens. Captain America reacting to the flying monkeys comment. Little things like that. There was some really, really great sort of touches.
Loki in France is great.
Yeah.
Wherever he is.
Oh, yes.
Or Germany.
Germany, that's where it was.
And while we're acknowledging the subtle little things that were done really well in this movie, when Fury tells Captain America that things might surprise him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can't be surprised anymore." He's like, "Want to bet?" And then he goes onto the helicarrier, and when it takes off and he walks into the bridge, he just subtly reaches into his wallet and hands Fury a 10. It's never acknowledged.
Yes.
I think that's one of the best sight gags they've done.
That is great, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the minor conflict between Iron Man and Captain America, that little pissing contest they have throughout, a fair bit of the film, it works. It works well. They wrote it well. Like they didn't dick around with it or anything like that. They did a really, really great job of putting the whole thing together as far as it goes. Right. So I give this film kudos for the fact that they not only managed to pull it off, but I think they pulled it off very well. Right. They were looking at a pretty monumental task of topping like Iron Man and Captain America and everything else and putting them all together and, creating the superhero team, and it really, really worked.
I mean, it hadn't really been done before.
No, it hadn't. And I thought in my mind, it was tactful enough and subtle enough. It flowed well, like there weren't a lot of hiccups in the story. So that's my thought.
I mean, I'm not saying it was bad. I don't know. It's not, people sometimes build this up as with like one of the best movies in the MCU or just in general, and it's really not all that great. It's a solid, good movie, but it's definitely been expanded on and done better, and it could have been more.
I'd agree with that. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Like, I like it, but I like both Iron Man and Captain America more.
Well, and I also don't think this one's too far. I think this one and Age of Ultron are about the same quality in my eyes, but we'll get to that more when Phase 2's coming.
They made some bad choices in Age of Ultron, but yeah, we'll wait for Phase 2 for that.
Yeah.
They did some really good stuff in Age of Ultron too, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But everything they did here wasn't great either. Like, I'm not a huge fan of all the I mean, the conflict in New York is good with the aliens, but the aliens as a whole is kind of lame. So,
Well, true, true. I won't deny that, but one of the things
Chitauri.
that I thought really stood out, at least for me, watching the film, was how they transitioned Mark Ruffalo into the Hulk character from Edward Norton.
Yeah, that
And
was done well here.
right, I thought they did a really, really good job of allowing Mark Ruffalo to be Bruce Banner, to be the Hulk. You know, like the way they sort of just brought him in, and he was the new actor to play Hulk, and so on and so forth. And the Hulk was now part of this, and because there was a tendency, at least on my part, to kind of ignore the Incredible Hulk when it came to the Phase One, because they changed actors, and Hulk never felt like it was part of Phase One in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right. And yet they integrated the Hulk into this superhero team in a great way, in my mind.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. You know how I said back when we were talking about Captain America that this is basically the Ultimates?
Yeah.
The Chitauri invasion is also out of the Ultimates. Straight on. That is like the end of the Ultimates' first graphic novel is the Chitauri invasion.
Okay. Uh,
There's been a lot of the new cut.
yeah, you cut out after you said there's been a lot of.
As I was saying before, this system, this shit system that has technical difficulties galore the last 2 days, interrupted me. Is I was gonna say, to be fair, a lot of Marvel movies, not just MCU, have taken a lot of material from the Ultimate Universe. There's been Spider-Man movies that have done it, Fantastic Four movies that have done it. The last Fantastic Four movie was very Ultimate Universe, which is a shame because it was such shit. And then plenty in the MCU, I'm sure, has taken factors too. Like
I mean, the Avengers, as presented in the MCU, are really the Ultimates.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but for what it is, I thought it was a very worthy way to end Phase One.
Oh, I'd agree on that. Like, it's not as good as a lot of people say it is, but it's still a very good movie.
Well, it's still what they were building up to, and it's not like, I mean, they did a good enough job of it, but it's definitely plenty of room for improvement, which they would definitely do. So,
yeah, well, just taking Hulk and Thor and bringing them into Iron Man's sphere of influence was well done, well thought
messed
out.
them up forever.
Well, no, it was well thought out
kidding.
the way they did it.
I loved the way they brought Thor into it.
Yeah.
Science bros forever.
Yeah, but there were some great moments, and again, I think Hawkeye was horribly underused.
They made up for that with Age of Ultron, though, which I maintain is a Hawkeye movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's we can talk about that in the next one. And you may be right, actually. I looking at Avengers, I thought they were all well represented to a point, and nobody got completely ignored except Hawkeye, but he wasn't completely ignored. He really started to become his own character and that sort of thing within the film. And
honestly, for the story they were telling, someone had to
take a
be
back
the
seat.
one who got took over by Loki.
Well, exactly. That's the problem. He got taken over by Loki. So
yeah, but it had to happen to someone. So I don't really fault it for being Hawkeye.
No,
because how do you establish Loki as a threat if he never actually takes anyone over?
Yeah, and that's entirely fair, right? And it allowed Black Widow to have some depth to her character. She attempted to not only deal with the fact he'd been taken over, but deal with the fact that she was obligated to try and fix it on a personal level.
And the fact that for once the solution couldn't just be kill them. Because she's an assassin. Her solution is always just kill the problem.
Yeah. True enough. Did we lose Dan or something? He's quiet.
We might have.
We might have lost Dan. He might have gotten a call too. I don't know. This recording has been mired by issues, so that's fun. That's probably about what we have mainly for Avengers, anyways. Are you still here, Bill?
I'm here.
Okay. I will say, I don't know if Dan can hear me or not, but if we don't have to talk about them, but I will say anybody that hasn't watched the Marvel one-shots, there was 3 that took place in this phase, and it's pretty good. So
we have 2
check
Dans
those
now.
out. We do.
Yeah, now you got 2 of me. I got shut out.
Oh, now it's 1. Okay. Yeah, we fought. I was just kind of semi-wrapping things up, and I said that's pretty much all we had about Avengers, probably. I was just shouting out the fact that the Marvel one-shots that happened, there was 3 of them in Phase 1, so if people haven't watched those, I'd recommend them. They're short, and they're pretty fun. There's the...
Strange Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer is very amusing.
Yes, that's
I
one
like
of them.
that one.
That's one of them. The first one was the consultant one, and then it was the Thor's Hammer one, and then item 47 happens after Avengers, but it's before Phase 2 starts. So that's the 3 of them.
Was there only 3 of them?
Yeah, for the Phase 1. Yeah.
Interesting.
There's more, but they're not. I'm just gonna mention them when we go by phase. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I find the item 47 one fun too.
We seem to be having huge internet issues out there, guys. So
I know. I just said this. I said while you were gone, this recording session's been mired by issues.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Let's just go to our Avengers ratings. I think.
Okay.
I think mine might be the most interesting rating, so I'm gonna. I think I should go last. So.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It wasn't as good as Iron Man, but I really, really enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Bill, how you feeling?
I was going to say 7. It's my 3rd favorite Phase 1 movie. Actually, emotionally, probably my 2nd. But overall, taking out just the nostalgia to finally seeing all these people on the same screen.
Yeah.
After like 4 years, because I saw every single Phase 1 movie multiple times in the theater. It's just not as good as Iron Man or Captain America.
Yeah, fair enough. We're all actually pretty close, but I'm still the lowest. I'm gonna go 6.5. I was gonna go. I didn't want to go as low as 6 because then it would have been tied with Iron Man 2 in my eyes, and that's just wrong. So, and I could admit that. So it's a 6.5 for me. So that would mean my list. That would make it my 3rd least favorite MCU Phase 1 movie, after Incredible Hulk and then Iron Man 2, and then it goes Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, I think. So yeah,
there you go. We're going to close this little session off because we're all apparently having internet issues all the time.
Bill's the only safe one so far.
Yeah, so far Bill's the only one.
This has been a cursed recording session, so we're gonna get out of here, and hopefully this episode turns out okay. We apologize in advance if there is some choppiness in the recording or anything. I'm not sure how this is gonna turn out yet. I guess we'll promote next month's episode real fast. Next month we're gonna have a list where all 3 of us are gonna be recommending you guys some movies to watch around Halloween. So that's gonna be a lot of fun, we think. So tune back next month. Come back next week for a fun Route 616 episode. There was also some issues in the recording yesterday that are the same issues appearing today. So hopefully next week all of this will be fixed by, but we'll see.
Alrighty, so it's good night for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, even share if you'd like to, and if you're on Spotify, just Spotify, we're available, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and make sure to come back for more. We appreciate you guys, and peace out.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.